Is that correct? Okay.
The vowel sounds are very similar to Spanish.
Oh,
I've noticed.
Yeah. Hai Rakita, name Hati, Veringan, Herakat, Sami Kuta.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like Indian and celebrities.
Saudara-saudara sekalian dalam nama, kita akan segera memulai kebaktian pada minggu hari ini. Sementara pemimpin kebaktian menyalakan lilin dan tumpah, umat diharap bersikap anjali. Bagi yang memiliki mobile phone, harap dinonaktifkan. Brother and sister in Dhamma, we are going to start our Sunday Puja today. For those who have mobile phone, kindly put it in the silence mode. While the leader of the ceremony light up the incense and the candle, kindly please put yourself in ideal position. Sampai dengan nama Karapata di buku biru halaman 23. To start with nama Karapata on the blue book page 23. Arahang sama sambuddho bhagawa.
Arahang sama sambuddho bhagawa.
Budang bhagawantang abiwademi.
Budang bhagawantang abiwademi.
Yang berberkah, yang maha suci, yang telah mencapai penerangan sempurna oleh diri sendiri. Aku bersujud di hadapan Sang Buddha, Sang Bhagawa. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo.
Swakato bhagavata dhammo.
Dhammang namasami.
Dhammang namasami.
Dhamma telah sempurna dibabarkan oleh Sang Bhagawa. Aku bersujud di hadapan Dhamma. Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sanggo.
Supatipano bhagavato sawaka sanggo.
Sanggang namami.
Sanggang namami.
Sangga siswa Sang Bhagawa telah bertindak baik. Aku bersujud di hadapan Sangga. Ya Mahako Mayang Bhagawantang Sarananggata. Yono Bhagawa Santa. Ya sajak mayang Bhagavato Dhammang Rojemang. Imehi sakarehi tang Bhagawantang. Sasadamang sasawaka sanggang. Abipujayama. Kami berlindung kepada Sang Bhagawa. Sang Bhagawa, Guru Agung kami. Dalam Dhamma Sang Bhagawa, kami berbahagia. Dengan persembahan ini, kami memuja Sang Bhagawa beserta Dhamma dan Sangha. Kita lanjutkan dengan nama Karapata di buku biru halaman 27. We'll continue with the Aradhana Sarana Pancasila on the blue book page 27. Dan Bhante kita membuka pengoran sila. Okasa
Aham Bhante Tisaranena Sadi Pancasila Dhammang yacami Anugraham Katwa Silang Dekame Bante Tutiampi Okasa Aham Bante Tisara Nena Sadi Pancasila Dhammang yacami Anugraham Katwa Silang Dekame Bante Tatiampi Okasa Aham Bante Tisaranena Sadi Pancasila Dhammang yacami Anugraham Katwa Silang Dekame Bante
Yamahang Vatamitang Vatita
Amante
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sarana gamanang paripunnang.
Bhante
Anati pata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Anatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Atinna dana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinada
Veramani Sikapayam Samadhyami
Ame Sumithatara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Same Sumitra Veramani Sikapayam Samadhyami
Savadha Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Musavaya Veramani Sikapayam Samadhyami
Kamiraya Majjavamadathana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
Surah Veramani Sikapayam Samadhyami
Itmani Panta Sikkhapadani Sirena Sugatiyanti Sirena Bhoga Sampada Sirena Nibbutiyanti Tasmaha Silang Visodhaye.
Bhante Salam Salam
Salam berkata, mari kita sampai kejiwaan kita akan melanjutkan dengan meditasi selama sekitar 15 menit yang akan dipimpin oleh tujuan untuk memperbaiki
Find a suitable posture to sit down. You may sit on the ground. You may sit in a chair. The main thing is to be upright, yeah. You don't want to be too rigid. And you don't want to be too relaxed. Upright, alert, and encouraging, calm. Gently closing your eyes. Or if you wish, you can keep your eyes open. But if you do so, just focus on something in front of you that's not distracting. Bringing our attention inwards. Putting aside any concerns and thoughts about future. Any concerns and thoughts about the past. Bringing our attention and interest inward. What does this body feel like? What does the heart feel like? What does the mind feel like? General, open, interested attention inward. Feel free to make any adjustments in the body, encouraging it to be relatively comfortable, upright, alert, keeping your hands folded. By taking a long and deep breath inside, holding it. Hold, and taking a long, deep breath, exhale. Hold. Take another long, deep breath, inhale. Now long, deep breath, exhale. That for a couple, 2 or 3 more deep, long in breaths. And holding, and deep, long out breaths and holding. Slower the deep in breath. Longer holding. Slow out breath. Long holding. Allowing breath to return to its natural rhythm. Your attention inwards. Any sights or sounds, smells or tastes, thoughts or emotions. Anytime our mind goes out, we just smile and bring it back, our attention back to our body. How do you feel your body? Where is it most clear and easy to rest our attention? Might be the breathing, or it might be where the body meets the floor, on the legs, the lower part of the body. Your attention might rest in your hands or arms. But wherever your attention goes to most easily, encourage yourself to rest your attention there. When the mind wanders off, just very gently bring it back to the body. attention wander away from the body. Just smile and get back. Very persistently, very determinedly, very gently, very kindly. Bring our attention to the body. However it feels, wherever it's most clear and vivid. I'm having trouble resting our attention in the body. Just take a couple long deep breaths in, holding, and a long deep breath out. Holding. Do that 2 or 3 times. Urging the body, be very still, very relaxed, very attentive. Encouraging the mind and heart to be very still, very relaxed, and very attentive. No need to change anything. No need to make things this or that. Very still, very attentive. Bowing, Intention to broaden throughout the body. The sense for how the whole body feels. Our attention was on the breathing, the nose, the lungs or diaphragm. Encourage the attention now to broaden throughout the upper body. Our attention was on the lower body. Encourage to broaden everything from the toes of the feet, ankles and calves, knees and thighs, lower back, upper back, stomach and chest, hands, forearms and elbows, upper arms and shoulders, neck and face, head all the way up to the top of the head. Broad, relaxed, open. In this meditation, your eyes are closed and gently open, allowing the sights to come in. Very still, very relaxed, very attentive. Bring our hands up and undulate and share gratitude for our efforts. May all beings be happy. All beings be happy. All beings be happy. All beings.
Kita lanjutkan dengan nama di sana. Itu kita akan membacakan Aradana Dhamma di sana di buku biru halaman 40. We're going to proceed with Dhamma di sana. We will ask Bhante formally by chanting Aradana Dhamma di sana on the blue book, page 46. Brahma Saloka
Lipati sahampati Katanjaliya Iwara ayacata Santi dasata Parajaka jatika Dese Dudama Anukampi Pampajam.
Brahma Sampati, sang penguasa dunia beranjali seraya pemohon. Di alam semesta ini ada makhluk-makhluk yang memiliki sedikit debu di mata mereka. Ajarkanlah dhamma demi kasih sayang kepada mereka.
Sorry. Di sini atau di?
Di situ.
Boleh terserah Bante. Kalau rasanya nggak nyaman di bawah juga nggak apa-apa.
Kan maksudnya ini nggak apa-apa ya?
Iya dong, iya Bante.
Iya,
Tahu nggak kelihatan nih Bante. Suaranya jelas nggak coba Bante? Dites dulu.
tes, tes. Oke. Jadi positif. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Kalena dhamma savanam etam mangala uttamam. Listening to the Dharma in the right time, that is the highest blessing. Okay, the most venerable Sangha Bhante Jagaru.
Lagi ada ini ada
Gerakan.
jadi bikin noise.
Having ya.
It's better, I think.
Ya. Also Bhante Sanatavihari. My brothers and sisters, good morning everybody. Om is the Buddha, Namo Buddhaya. First of all, I would like to thank especially to the members of IPS, Indonesian Police Society. Actually, last time I even didn't know the meanings of IPS, and then I asked Mr. Iman, what is the meaning of IPS, Indonesian Police Society? Being invited by IPS, but I don't know the meaning of IPS. And thank you very much, especially to Mrs. Sari, who invited me. I think this is the leader, I think, of this IPS, the president. So thank you very much for inviting me to come here and then to share the Dharma, the teaching. And of course, thank you very much for all of you to have me this opportunity to share the teachings of the Buddha. And actually, to speak in English is quite difficult, especially to explain the very profound Dhamma. Because for many years, I myself already explaining in Indonesian language, in Bahasa. And for me, it is quite easy to explain Bahasa in Indonesian. But here, because some of you are not from Indonesia, and of course cannot speak, cannot understand Indonesian language, so I will try my best to explain certain Dhamma for today, for this morning. And I would like to take one point of Dhamma, especially what is the most important teachings of the Buddha. And I think this is very important for us to understand what is the most important teachings of the Buddha. Because we are Buddhists, so we have to understand the very important, the most principal teachings of the Buddha. I think better before I come up with this topic, do you understand what I'm saying? Can you understand, especially Bhante from US? Can you understand, right? Okay. Yeah, because this is Indonesian style of English. Not Australia, not British, not US, but Indonesian style. Okay, I think all of you know that each and every religion has its own main teaching. So likewise, Buddhism also has its own main teaching, the most important teachings of the Buddha. So do you know what is the most important teachings of the Buddha? Because these teachings
Listen to
which
this.
makes different, that makes Buddhism so different, so unique from other religious beliefs. What
Okay.
is it?
Karma, Bante, perhaps?
Yes, the Four Noble
Four Noble
Truths.
Truth, yeah.
That is most important teachings of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths. Because when we are talking like other teaching, for example, if only just talk about the morality, I think all religion has its own morality. Even though now, when we try to, take close to the teachings on morality, it's quite different from Buddhism, but somehow each and every religion has the morality. And also, when we are talking, for example, there's a meditation. I think not only just Buddhism, but even other religious beliefs also practicing meditation. In the times of the Buddha, for example, there are some Brahmana, some Brahmin, and then against now in the present time, the Hinduism, they also practicing meditation. Even though after we are trying to discuss a little bit, deeper into what meditation Buddhism, it is quite different. But somehow they are also practicing meditation. And again, about the karma, the karma is also actually being discussed, being taught in other religious beliefs, like Hinduism, Brahmanism, like in the times of, in the times of the Buddha, some others like Upanishad. They also believing in the law of karma. But the so-called the Four Noble Truth is considered by the Buddha as the teaching which is not heard before. Ananusuttesu ube ananusuttesu dhamesu. Something which is not heard before. And that is the most important teachings of the Buddha that we have to understand. As a Buddhist, we have to understand because this is the teaching which makes Buddhism so different from others. And there's the Buddha himself in his teaching, in his sermon, telling us that during his life, his teaching for 45 years, he only taught this Four Noble Truths, no other things, only Four Noble Truths. So therefore, one statement we can find in his sermon, he said like this, Ube saham bikawe itarahica, tukansa panyapemi tukasa nirodam. From the very early time until now, what I try to make known is only two things. That is about suffering, dukkha, and about the cessation of suffering, dukkha sat nirodam. Only two things. But what we try to expound to the world, to us, is only two things, about suffering and the cessation of suffering. But of course, when he's trying to talk about the suffering, he also will discuss about the cause, why the suffering rises, right? So there is a cause of suffering. Because the suffering could rise without any, should be any cause there. So the cause of suffering also being taught, being discussed in detail, in very comprehensive by the Buddha. And when the Buddha told us about the cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha, dukkha sat nirodha, he also taught about the cause, how this suffering could cease, how this suffering could be eradicated. And that is the way, that is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So the Buddha is only teaching about these Four Noble Truths, Sattari Arya Satani. So that's why when we are, talking about the first discourse of the Buddha, can you remember what is the first discourse of the Buddha? Considered to be the first one, that is the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta.
Yeah.
The turning wheel of the Dharma. That is considered to be the first discourse of the Buddha. But actually, before the Buddha was preaching this Dhammacakkappavattana, he also already preached other things, to the first two disciples, the lay disciples of him, Tapu and the Buddha also was teaching to them. And then again, telling something to one wanderer, that is Upaka,
Yeah.
while the Buddha was going to from Bodh Gaya to Isivadana, and then he met the one wanderer Upaka. He also was teaching something to this Upaka. But why in Buddhism, the so-called Dhamma Cakkappavattana is considered to be the first discourse of him? Because in this discourse, the Buddha taught the most important teaching, that is the Four Noble Truth. That is the teaching that the Buddha was under the Bodhi tree, understanding, penetrating, and this is the most important teaching that we have to understand. So therefore, when the Buddha said that from early time until now, what he taught is only two things about suffering, what he says only two things, suffering and the cessation of suffering. Actually, the whole teachings of him, he taught for 45 years and many points of Dharma. And all the points of Dharmas are being taught by him only in order to understand this Four Noble Truth. Ultimately, all the teachings of the Buddha are taught just to understand what the Four Noble Truth is. That is the most important. So we see, like, for example, we discuss about this Paticca Samuppada. What is Paticca Samuppada?
And
Normally it is translated into dependent origination, right? Or dependent horizon, dependent origination.
Yeah.
And this Paticca Samuppada is actually can be used by anyone by the Buddha to explain everything, to explain all the phenomena. Even, like this house, this building can be explained by means of Paticca Samuppada. Because in this law of Paticca Samuppada, we are being shown that everything, every phenomenon arises due to condition, due to causes. So even this building can be explained through Paticca Samuppada. And why the raining could come, the rain could come because of many causes. There is the sun, the wind, the cloud, and then it produces the raining. That's also Paticca Samuppada. But then the Buddha used Paticca Samuppada only to show how the suffering arises and how the entire mass of suffering ceases. Only two things. That's why again the Buddha explaining the Dvadasanga Paticca Samuppada, the 12 fetters of dependent origination. Because in these 12 fetters, the Buddha is explaining about how the suffering arises because of avidya, non-understanding, because of sankhara, the formation, because of vijnana, consciousness, namarupa, name and form, and so on. Because of the 12 factors, suffering arises. So here, this Paticca Samuppada is being explained by him in order to understand how the suffering arises. And when these factors, the 12 factors are being annihilated, being eradicated, ceases, and then the suffering also ceases. That means only about the suffering and the cessation of suffering. When the Buddha showed this dependent co-origination or dependent horizon. And again, when the Buddha said about, for example, Tilakhana, Tilakhana, the three characteristics of a universe of the world of conditioned things, anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanency, the suffering, and non-self. So here there is one characteristic, dukkha, suffering. And this suffering, being a part of the Four Noble Truth, cannot be separated from the anicca and anatta, right? Because the so-called suffering is anicca itself, the impermanency. Yada anicca tang dukkha. What is impermanent? That's dukkha, that's suffering. Yada anicca tang dukkha. And what is suffering? Subject to change, impermanent, cannot be properly regarded as this is mine, I am, myself. And that's anatta. That is the non-self. So this anicca, dukkha, anatta, the three characteristics of all conditioned things, which are all these three are as one, cannot be separated. So what is suffering? Because of anicca. And because of anicca, because of impermanency and suffering, so everything, anything cannot be regarded as mine, I am myself. And that is anatta. So anicca, dukkha, anatta, all are about the Four Noble Truths. So we are explaining, we are discussing, we are trying to understand about these three characteristics of conditioning in order to understand the Four Noble Truths, nothing else. And again, we are talking, for example, about the, just now we are practicing meditation. In Buddhism, we know that in general, there are two kinds of meditation. One is samatha, that's, and the second is vipassana, the insight meditation and the calmness meditation. I know some people, even some Buddhist people, thought that this samatha bhavana is only just to lead a person to attain the jhana concentration, the higher concentration, the jhana. While the insight meditation is the practice of meditation which leads to the liberation. And because of this understanding, and some even the Buddhist people having the view that the most important we are practicing vipassana. The samatha is not important because samatha is just leading the jhana concentration. But vipassana is leading to the insight, to the especially the liberation, the attainments of the sainthood, the attainments of sotapanna, sakadagami, anagami, arahanta. So that is the most important that we need to practice. And then again, the samatha is not being practiced. But when we are going back to the teachings of the Buddha, the samatha and vipassana ultimately are being developed in order to make the end of suffering. So samatha and vipassana are the two things that should be practiced, and they are the instrument. They are the instrument to lead us to attain the liberations. Not only just, for example, samatha is not only just for the jhana, but the samatha itself is also being practiced in order to attain enlightenment. That is an instrument. And likewise, this vipassana is the instrument that we have to develop in our day-to-day life as a Buddhist, being practiced in order to attain liberation. These two things. That's why once the Buddha said like this, when a person practicing meditation, the citta bhavana, the mental cultivation, the mental development, and he knows that ajatang ceto samatha, that is samatha bhavana, the internal calmness of the mind is well developed. While this vipassana, the insight is not well developed, then such a person needs to make an effort to develop vipassana, to develop this insight. But when a person understands, knows by himself, while practicing meditation, ajatam ceto samatha, the internal calmness of mind is not well developed, while the vipassana, the insight is well developed, such a person needs to make an effort to develop the samatha. So the two things, samatha and vipassana, should be developed together. And understanding that by himself, the samatha and vipassana are well developed, such a person needs to use these two mental qualities, the calmness and insight, to destroy the defilements of mind, to destroy the taints of mind. So that means the samatha and vipassana are the two mental qualities which brings about the liberation, not only just insight, but inside the vision can be developed well because of the samatha, because of the calmness of mind. And of course, the calmness of mind becomes the instrument of destroying the defilements of mind also because of the vipassana, the insight. So the two mental qualities of calmness and insight are the two which should be developed in order to attain the liberation, the cessation of suffering. And again, these vipassana and samatha vipassana also connected to the Four Noble Truths, cannot be separated from the Four Noble Truths. So therefore, when we are meditating, and then, for example, some people practicing meditation, and on the behalf of the Buddhist meditation, that meditation should be related to the Four Noble Truths. Otherwise, that is not the Buddhist meditation, should be related. So whether the meditation is for the purpose of liberation or not, whether the meditation is for the purpose of understanding the suffering or not, and we have to understand when it is related to the suffering, to understand the suffering well, that is a Buddhist meditation. When this meditation is for the purpose of eradicating the cause of suffering, that is a Buddhist meditation. When this meditation is related for the sake of ceasing the suffering, to make the end of suffering as a third noble truth, that is the Buddhist meditation. And this meditation itself is actually the development of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. That is none other than the Noble Eightfold Path. So when we are practicing meditation and it is related with the Noble Eightfold Path, it is not separated from the Noble Eightfold Path, that is the Buddhist meditation. So the samatha and vipassana, the two practices, mental qualities that lead to the liberation. And that itself, those itself are the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. Cannot be separated. And even, and this is very important, even when we are practicing, or we understand this now, we are telling about the karma, right? About this law of karma, the actions and effect. Even when the Buddha told us about the law of karma, that each and every person, especially the happiness and suffering of every person, are due to this action, due to the karma. Understanding the karma is not only just stopping on understanding that we have to do various kinds of good action in this life in order to get happiness in the future life. Not only that, but actually understanding this law of karma by the Buddha is also to understand that as long as we are in this karma, as long as we are still being trapped in this karma, we are still in the suffering. Can you understand? As long as we are in this karmic thing, we are still in the suffering. Because when we still have the karma, when we still have this action, the karma, there will be the vipaka, the fruit. So when there is the fruit there will be the rebirth, right? Punabhava. When there is the rebirth, there will be the suffering. So this suffering is due to the samsaric life, the rebirth. And the rebirth is due to the vipaka, the fruit of the karma. And the fruit of the karma is due to the karma. And each and every action, each and every karma is actually performed out of tanha, craving. And the craving is the cause of suffering. Because of the craving, a person does various kinds of action. Sometimes good action, and most of the time bad action. And because of this action, there will be the fruit, the vipaka. And because of the vipaka, there will be the rebirth. Wandering in the samsaric life, in the cycles of rebirth. And because of this rebirth, there will be the suffering. So the suffering is caused by the karma. And the karma is caused by the tanha. So that's why the Buddha said, tanha pahana kamang pahyati. With the abandonment of karma or of tanha, of craving, with the destructions of craving, there will be the destruction of karma. The action is destroyed by the destructions of tanha, craving. And karma pahana, dukkha karma, there will be the destruction of suffering, dukkha. So the suffering can be destroyed only after destroying the karma. And the karma is destroyed only by destroying the tanha, the craving, as the cause of suffering. So that's why, the arahant, the essence of arahant, to make it different from most of the people, is called as kiriya, functional, not karma.
Yeah.
But the karma is only for those who have not attained arahantship, because of the karma is always performed because of the tanha, because of the craving. And that's why when we are talking, for example, the samadhi, the right view, there are two kinds of right view. The first, the right view, which is still accompanied by asava, by the things, by the defilements of mind. And the second, the right view, which is considered to be maganga, the factor of the path leading to the, the cessation of suffering. There are two kinds of right view. And the first right view, that is right view, that is better than wrong view. But this right view is still accompanied by the pain, by the asava. And what is that? The karma. Understanding the karma, believing in the karma, having the faith in the karma, that is right view. But this right view is still being accompanied by the karma, by the asava. Why? Because when we are, having the belief in this karmic thing, we also have the concept of I-ness, right? There is the perceptions of individual, the perceptions of creature, the perception of existence, and that is the atta self, the perception of self. And that is better rather than having the wrong view. But somehow, as long as it is still karma, that is still a kind of, suffering. So the Buddha explaining about the karma, the law of karma, not just to stop on understanding that we have to perform various kinds of good deeds in order to be reborn in the heavenly world in the future. Not just stop in there, but in order to make the end of suffering, understanding that as long as we are in this karma, we are still trapped in this suffering, in this samsaric life. So that's why the whole teachings of the Buddha, all teachings of the Buddha, for 45 years, the Buddha was teaching to his disciple is only to make us understand the Four Noble Truths. That's why we have to understand what is the Four Noble Truths. And before we are having a little discussion about the Four Noble Truths, I would like to ask you why these four truths are considered to be the noble. Yeah.
I think Bante, because regardless whether the Buddha was born, whether there was a teaching of the Buddha, these Four Noble Truths always applicable. It's always there. It cannot be exempted. Like everybody cannot be exempted from it.
Yeah, of course, that is also the correct things. The Buddha also mentioned in his discourses that whether the Buddha rise or not, the so-called Four Noble Truths are there. And that is also the correct thing. Just like about the Paticca Samuppada, whether the Buddha was there or not, the so-called Paticca Samuppada are there in this world. But this truth is considered to be the noble because there are many kinds of truths, but not all the truths are noble, right? So there is one simile is given by the most venerable Buddha Gosa in his work. I think you all know the Visuddhimagga. He mentioned like this. He compared with a person. Suppose there is a one person's takes one dirt in his hand, and then he asks other people to come and see. Invite other people to come and see. See this in my hand is the dirt. When he asks others to come and see, invite others to come and see to see this dirt in his hand, is it proper or not proper? Is it proper or not proper? Is it the truth or untruth? That is the truth, because he's truly taking the dirt in his hand. But it is not proper to invite others just to see the dirt in the hand, because this is something not valuable, something not precious, just the dirt in his hand. But that is the truth. So likewise, there are many kinds of truth, but not all the truths are considered to be noble, right? That is the first. Can you understand? Can you understand, right? Friends by Indonesian can understand. And then second, suppose there is one person, he doesn't hold anything in his hand. But then he asks other people to come and see, invite other people to come and see, saying that, let us see in my hand, there is very precious gem. But actually he doesn't hold anything in his hand. But he tells other people to come and see to see that there is one gem, very precious gem in my hand, in his hand. Is it proper to invite others to see something which is actually untrue? Even though he's saying there is a very precious gem in his hand. It is not proper. So likewise, sometimes there are many kinds of teaching. It looks like very precious, very valuable, but actually not leading to the cessation of suffering, not leading to the freedom. Many kinds of teaching, and that is also not noble. So here, why it is called as the noble truths, the four noble truths? Because these are not only just the truth, but that is a noble. It is very noble because when we are trying to understand, penetrating these four truths, we can attain the nobleness. We can attain the Buddhist sainthood, the liberation, Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahata. Those are the noble people. That attainment is the nobleness. And because of these four truths being practiced, leading to the nobleness, so that's why that is the four noble truths. And because of these truths are being realized, being penetrated by the noble people, like the Buddha, Paceka Buddha, Savaka Buddha, the disciples of the Buddha who are Arahant. So that's why these four truths are considered to be the noble ones, the four noble truths. So that's why it is also very important to us to understand, because these four truths are not just mere truth, but these are the noble truths. These four noble truths showing us about the reality of our life. And the first reality of our life is that's actually our life is suffering. Our life is suffering. What is the suffering? What is dukkha? The definitions given by Bhante Buddha Gosa. The term dukkha is derived from the two words, du and kha. What is the du? Du is the fearful, the danger. Because in this life, we have to face various kinds of fearful things. In this life, we have to face the danger, various kinds of dangers. So therefore, it is called suffering. What kind of danger? Many dangers that we have to face. For example, as long as we are still in these cycles of birth and death, as long as we are still as a human beings, even when we are attaining like, being reborn in the heavenly world. But somehow, we also have to face the 8 worldly things. Not only just we get the gain, sometimes we have to face the loss, right? Not only just we get the good name, but sometimes the bad name also comes to us. Even though we already got our life, our morality, sometimes with a small mistake, the one mistake, all our good name would disappear, and the bad name comes to us, and that's happened. Not only just in this life, we will get the praise from others. We will get the good, the pleasant word from others, the word based on the loving kindness. But we also have to face the bad words, the censure, the harsh word, the word which is based on the hatred, also will come to us. Not only just us, even the Buddha himself, as the person who is really perfect in conduct, in understanding, in knowledge, the Buddha is considered to be Vijacharana Sampano, very perfect in the knowledge, in the conduct, but somehow he also get a kind of slander from others. I think you know the one story. The Buddha was being slandered by one lady. The name is Chincha. The Buddha was slandered to accordingly to have impregnated the Chincha. So that is the Buddha, the one who is really perfect in understanding, in conduct, in moral life, no any blame, but somehow some other people still don't like him. And the Chincha, the female wanderer, slanders him. And that is the Buddha himself, let alone like us. We're still having a lot of defilements of mind, a lot of, sometimes not the good things in our life. So very possible, not only just the bad, not only just the good things comes to our life, but even the bad things, the bad name, the censure, the bad words also could come to our life. And that is the danger, that is a fearful that we are living in these cycles of rebirth. And again, not only just we get the happiness in our life, but various kind of suffering also come to us. Sometimes we get accident and so on. And these are the danger, these are the fearful things that we have to face in our life as a human being, as a creature, as a beings in these cycles of rebirth. And recently I read one discourse. The name is Sala Sutta. The discourse on Sala. Sala means the dart, the arrow, the poisonous arrow. And then the Buddha said about how in this life, our life, to maintain our span of life is very difficult. Kasira, very difficult. How our life is very short as a human being, very short. Our life is very difficult. To maintain this life is very difficult. Kasira. Why it is difficult? Because in order to maintain our life, a lot of factors should be together there. We could live. Now we maintain, we don't die because of we have many factors getting together there. We have the breathing out and in. We have the food every day. And these, the 4 elements of our bodies are still intact, still balanced. And because of all of this, we still can live. Suppose one of these disappear or getting injured or damaged, so our life is gone. For example, now we still have this consciousness, we still have this breathing, we still have these 4 elements in our body. But if we don't take food 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, is it possible to us to continue our life? Possible or not? It is not possible. And again, we have the food, for example, we have the food. The 4 elements we still have. But then we have the problem in our breathing, our breath. That's also making us impossible to continue. Our life is gone because of the problem in one factor, that is a breathing out and in. And even these four elements, one of these elements in our body, because we have the four elements, the the earth elements, what is solid in our body, that is the earth elements, and we have this temperature from the cold until the hot, that is the fire elements, and we also have the water elements, what is watery in our body, like the blood and so on, and we have this the air elements, what is air in our body, which make us moving here and there our body, that is the air elements, and even four elements, if one element is getting imbalance, our life is also gone. Only just one element. So in order to maintain our life, these four factors should get together there. Otherwise, our life is gone. So that's why this, the danger of our life. Many kinds of danger are there while we are living. So that's why the life of human beings is considered to be very short, very short. That is also the danger. So the Buddha says, Evang bayang marane ekamano, seeing the danger in this death, because the death will come at any time to us. Sooner or later, the death will come to us, and that is danger. And after death, we do not know what will happen in the future. Completely, we are, blind about the future, what will happen in the future, and that is the danger. And because of various kinds of danger in this life that we have to face, that's why it is called as dukkha, as suffering. Our body, each and every moment we have to experience the feeling. Not only just a pleasant feeling, but unpleasant feeling all the time arises in our body. We are not talking about the mind, not yet, but even in our body. Every time the unpleasant feeling rises, for example, now we are sitting. In the very beginning of sitting, of course, we feel like pleasant feeling, right? But after some time, getting unpleasant. And then we just, stand. In the very beginning of standing posture, we get the comfort. But after some time, you cannot just maintain the standing posture. We get the unpleasant feeling. And then we just walk. In the very beginning, we have the pleasant feeling. But we also cannot just walk all the time. Unpleasant feeling also arises. How this unpleasant feeling in this body coming again and again? And that is a danger. That is the suffering. And the Buddha said, and this Bhante Buddha Gosa said, besides the two, also the comes the empty from self. The meaning is that we don't have anything that we can
Control.
lean upon. We can have the protection. We don't have anything. We don't have any kinds, like in these five aggregates that we can just, cling upon and then we get the protection. We cannot. Because everything changing. Everything just changes. We cannot just, take one things within our five aggregates. We as the human beings, the five composed from these five aggregates, that we can just cling, we can just attach to one thing and then we get, safe there. No any safety in these five aggregates. We cannot just, say that my body is like this, cannot be like that, always be young, cannot be old. We cannot do that. Somehow we get old. May our body is just, always healthy. cannot be getting sick, but somehow cannot do that. The sickness also comes to our body. And not only just our body, the feeling, the perception, mental formation, the consciousness, the same. We cannot control our five aggregates according to our visas. We cannot control. And because of that, that is the suffering. This is how we have to understand the suffering. And in fact, all the conditioned things are actually the suffering. So we have to remember, because of the changing nature, the impermanency, that is the suffering. Because we cannot maintain everything what we have. Even something valuable, we cannot maintain. We cannot just, keep all the time. So that's why it is suffering. It is dukkha. But there's the Buddha also mentioned about the cause of suffering. What is the cause of suffering? That is the defilements of mind. The proximate cause is of tanha, the craving. Yayang tanha purubhavika, because of the craving, accompanied by the desire and delight. To find the pleasure here and there. That is how the suffering arises. But somehow the all defilements of mind, the greed, hatred, delusion, all these defilements of mind, the things of mind are the cause of suffering. The cause why we always wander in these cycles of birth and death. Why we cannot get out, escape from these cycles of rebirth. Because of this fuel of defilements of mind. So the defilements of mind is like fuel, which makes us to continue in these cycles of rebirth. And then we get suffering. So therefore, in order to get rid of this suffering, the cycles of birth and death, we have to destroy the cause of suffering. And because the cause of suffering is these defilements of mind, the lobha, dosa, moha, the greed, hatred, and delusion. So in this practice of the Dhamma, in this practice of the Buddha's teaching, is how to eliminate this cause of suffering. Only by elimination of the cause of suffering and the cessation of suffering is possible to be attained, to be achieved. That is the Nibbana, the liberation. The cessation of suffering can be attained, can be achieved only by destroying, eradicating the cause of suffering. And how to eradicate this cause of suffering? How to understand the suffering itself? And how to attain the cessation of suffering? That is by the Noble Eightfold Path. The path consisting of the 8 factors. That is, we have to have the samadhi, the right view. We have to accumulate the understanding, the right view, the good understanding. And what is the good understanding, the right view? That is the form of the truth itself. We have to understand this is suffering. And that is very important. Even though it is just, still a kind of theory, but that is very important. Because the so-called understanding, the first is theory. We have to understand it's a theory, and this is suffering. The whole conditioned things is actually suffering. What is subject to change is actually suffering. The so-called rebirth is suffering. Dukkha jati punapuna, rebirth again and again is suffering, and we have to understand. We have to understand that the so-called defilements of mind is the cause why we get suffering. Only by destroying this cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering can be achieved. You also have to understand. And the Noble Eightfold Path is the only way to liberate ourselves from suffering. And there is no any other way, just the Noble Eightfold Path. When we are talking about the Samatha Vipassana, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. We are talking about, for example, the 5 inner powers, the Pancapala, that is the Noble Eightfold Path. Cannot be separated. And this is the way how to get rid of this suffering. That is Samadhi. Only when we have the Samadhi, the right view, our intention will be good. because the so-called thought is coming from the view. So this intention, this thought will be right only when we have the right view. So when we have the right view, right thought, our speech also will be right. Our actions, bodily action also will be right. And our livelihood also will be right. Because the so-called livelihood is manifestations of verbal action and bodily action. So when our verbal action and bodily actions are right, so the livelihood also will be right. And when our mind is right, our verbal action is right, our bodily action is right, all the times we try to do the right things in our life, that is the right effort. You understand? That's the right effort. Samavayama. And when we have the right effort all the time, mindfully having the right effort all the times, not to let something bad, in our life, in our action, always trying our best to do the good actions by means of mind, verbal, and bodily actions, and that is the mindfulness. Mindfully do anything with the good things. And then when we have the concentration, the mental calmness, because of this guarding of our mind, verbal and bodily action, because of these 7 factors before, we are developing, and then we get this kind of concentration, kind of the mental calmness, and that is samadhi, the right concentration. So the right concentration can be achieved only by practicing this other 7 factors from the right view until the right mindfulness. So the Buddha said, Sattha pakarana sama samadhi. That sama samadhi, the right concentration, being accompanied by the 7 factors, the right view until right mindfulness. So this is what we have to practice in our day-to-day life, especially developing the noble effort path, as the path leading to the understanding of suffering, leading to the abandonment of the cause of suffering, and leading to the cessation of suffering. And that is a noble effort path. And the whole teachings of the Buddha, again, I would like to emphasize that the whole teachings of the Buddha is only about the Four Noble Truths. You are talking about the Paticca Samuppada, about Tilakkhana, Samatha, Vipassana, all the things. It is all about the Four Noble Truths. So we as a Buddhist needs to understand, must understand the Four Noble Truths, because these the teaching which makes different, makes unique from other teaching. So the Four Noble Truths is the main teachings of the Buddha. Thank you very much. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to explain, and I hope we can all understand this Four Noble Truth, and we can grow into Dhamma, and ultimately we all attain liberation. Thank you very much. Sabbe Satta Bhavantu Sukhita. May all beings be happy.
Sebelum Bhante akan bersantap siang, sebelum Bhante bersantap siang, kita ucapkan terima kasih kepada Bhante, dan kita akan membawa kita we're going to Bhante will going to have lunch now. We're going to express our gratitude by bowing the 3 times. Saya akan bacakan okase yang lain semua menjawab pada Bhante. Okasa
Wandami Bhante.
Abhivadana silisani Buddha pacaino cakkaro dhamma vadanti ayuwano sukhang balang. Ya, baik.
Di piring dulu aja ya Bante ya.
Ya.
Makannya di piring aja ya
Iya,
Bante.
piring aja.
Tapi katanya saya udah siapkan nanti buat dibawa lagi.
Ya, ya, baik.
Nanti kita persembahkannya di situ aja lah.
Ya, ya.
Oh,
Everyone, please.
yang bisa, event kalau nggak sentuh.
Can't touch the table, touch the person.
Ya, baik, kami terima.
Lepas semuanya ya.
Oh, speaking of.
Ya, pilih.
Sapi tio vivancam satu ate bhavan terayo suki lingka yuko bhavan abhivadana siletan nityang buddha pachayino Cattaro dhamma vadanti ayuwano sukhan balang.
Yuk, kita
Oh,
kembali
that's
ke
for everyone.
ya.
Yeah.
Misi yang sedap ya. Saudara-saudara sekalian, kita lanjutkan kebaktian ya sambil menunggu Bhante bersantap siang. We are going to proceed with chanting a few parita and then until Bhante finish, and then we're going to have lunch ourselves. Okay. Silakan kembali ke kusionnya. Kita akan membacakan beberapa parita sambil menunggu Bhante bersiap. Dan kita akan setelah selesai kita akan bersiap kita sendiri. So we are going to continue with chanting a few more parita, and then after we finish, that is, we are going to have lunch ourselves. Kita mulai dengan membacakan Buddha Nusanti di buku biru halaman 31. Buddha Nusanti on the blue book, page 31. Handa mayang Buddha Nusanti nayang karomase. Marilah kita menghayati renungan terhadap Sang Buddha.
Iti piso bhagawa araham samma sambuddho wijacarana sampano sugato loka widu anutaro purisa dhamma sarati sata dewa manusanang buddho bhagavati.
Karena itulah Sang Bhagawa, beliau adalah yang maha suci, yang telah mencapai penerangan sempurna oleh diri sendiri, sempurna pengetahuan tentang tindak tanduknya, sempurna menempuh jalan ke nibbana, mengetahui segenap alam, pembimbing manusia yang tiada taranya, guru dewa dan manusia yang sadar, yang berberkah. Anda mayang damanusati nayang karomase. Marilah kita menghayati renungan terhadap Dhamma.
Swakato bhagavata namo
Sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko opanadiko pacatang weditabo
Dhamma telah sempurna dibabarkan oleh Sang Bagawa. Terlihat amat jelas. Tak berselang waktu. Mengundang untuk dibuktikan. Patut diarahkan ke dalam batin. Dapat dihayati oleh para bijaksanawan dalam batin masing-masing. Handamayang Sangga Nusatinayang Karomase. Marilah kita menghayati renungan terhadap Sangga.
Supatipano Bhagavato Sawakasanggo Ujupatipano Bhagavato Sawakasanggo Nyayapatipano Bhagavato Sawakasanggo Sami Cipatipano Bhagavato Sawakasanggo Yadidam Jatari Purisa Yurani Ata Purisa Tukala Esa Bhagavato Sawakasanggo Amunenyo Akirenyo Anjalikananyo Anuttaram Puryaketan Lokasati. Sangga siswa Sang Bagawa telah bertindak baik. Sangga siswa Sang Bagawa telah bertindak lurus. Sangga siswa Sang Bagawa telah bertindak benar. Sangga siswa Sang Bagawa telah bertindak patut. Mereka adalah 4 pasang makhluk, terdiri dari 8 jenis makhluk suci. Itulah Sangga siswa Sang Bagawa. Patut menerima pujian, patut menerima tubuhan, patut menerima persembahan, patut menerima penghormatan. Ladang menanam jasa yang tiada taranya bagi makhluk dunia. Handamayang Sacakirya Gatayo Banamase. Marilah kita membaca syair pernyataan kebenaran. Adime saranam ajan Udok men saranam waran Enam saja wajena Oti te otu sabada Adime saranam ajan Ome saranam waran Eterna saja wadena Roti te otu sabada Atime saranam aya Sambome saranam waran Eterna saja wajena Soti te otu sabada. Tiada perlindungan lain bagiku. Sang Buddhalah pelindungku dan luhur. Berkat pernyataan kebenaran ini, semoga setiap saat Anda selamat sejahtera. Tiada perlindungan lain bagiku. Dhammalah pelindungku dan luhur. Berkat pernyataan kebenaran ini, semoga setiap saat Anda selamat sejahtera. Tiada perlindungan lain bagiku. Sanggalah pelindungku dan luhur. Berkat pernyataan kebenaran ini, semoga setiap saat Anda selamat sejahtera.
Kita lanjutkan dengan Karanamita Sutta di buku biru halaman 38. We'll resume with the Karanamita Sutta on the blue book, page 38. Andamayang Karanamita Suttang Banamase. Marilah kita membaca sutta tentang kewajiban dan cinta kasih.
Karania mata kusalena yang tang santang pada alisa meja sako uju cha subuju cha suwaco jasa mutu anadimani Santu sakoca sukaroca apakicoca sarahukaruti sanjindriyoca nipakoca apagabo turesu ananukido Gudang sama jare ginji Yena vinyu pare pawadeyo Sukino wakemino pantu Sabe sata bawantu sukitata Eke cipana butati Sawa nawa rawa Anawa sesa Ikawa ye mahantawa Mahima rasaka Anu katula Tawa yewa adita ye jadure wasanti avidure Butawa sambawe siwa sabe sata bawantu sukitata Naharo paramiku beta Timanyeta kata sila kanji Yaro sana patiga sanya Naya manyasa kami jaya Mantariyata niyam putra Ayu eka putra manu rakse Ewanti sabang mukhesu Manasang bawaye aparimana Chancha savalokasmi Manasang bawaye aparimana Udam adoca diriyanca Asam padam aveta asa padam Vidam sadam nisi hawa Daya Yoga Sasa Vikata Mido Etam Sati Aditya Brahma Meta Vihara Idamamu Nikitya Sadu Adama Siddhavadasa Sena Sampano Kamesu Vinerakena Kami jatuh kabar saya punah Inilah yang patut dikerjakan oleh
Ia yang tangkas dalam hal yang berguna, yang mengantar ke jalan kedamaian. Sebagai orang yang cakap, jujur, tulus, mudah dinasihati, lemah lembut, tidak sombong, merasa puas atas yang dimiliki, mudah dirawat, tidak repot, bersahaja hidupnya. Begitu ia tenang, penuh pertimbangan, sopan, tak melekat pada keluarga-keluarga. Tidak berbuat kesalahan walaupun kecil, yang dapat dicela oleh para bijaksanawan. Senantiasa bersiaga dengan ujaran cinta kasih. Semoga semua makhluk berbahagia dan tentram. Semoga semua makhluk hidup berbahagia. Makhluk hidup apapun yang ada, yang goyang dan yang kokoh tanpa kecuali, yang panjang atau yang besar, yang sedang, pendek, kecil, kurus ataupun yang gemuk, yang tampak ataupun yang tak tampak, yang berada jauh ataupun dekat, yang telah menjadi ataupun yang belum menjadi. Semoga mereka semua hidup bahagia. Tidak sepatutnya yang satu menipu yang lainnya. Tidak menghina siapapun di mana juga. Dan tak selayaknya karena marah dan benci mengharap yang lain celaka. Sebagaimana seorang ibu mempertaruhkan jiwa melindungi putra tunggalnya, demikianlah terhadap semua makhluk mengembangkan pikiran cinta kasih tanpa batas. Cinta kasih terhadap makhluk di segenap alam patut kembangkan tanpa batas dalam batin, baik ke atas, bawah, dan diantaranya. Tidak sempit, tanpa kedengkian, tanpa permusuhan. Selagi berdiri, berjalan, atau duduk, ataupun berbaring sebelum terlelap, sepatutnya ia memusatkan perhatian ini yang disebut sebagai diam dalam Brahma. Ia yang mengembangkan meta, tak berpandangan salah, teguh dalam sila, dan berpengetahuan sempurna, dan melenyapkan kesenangan nafsu indria, tak akan lahir dalam rahim lagi. Before we close our puja for today, we are going to share our merit by chanting the Etawata on the blue book page 47. Sebelum kita tutup kebaktian pada hari ini, kita akan melakukan limpahan jasa dengan membacakan Parita Etawata di buku biru halaman 47. Kita akan ganti di bait kelima, Imam Rakantu Rataka kita ganti dengan Imam Rakantu Australia dan Imam Rakantu Indonesia. Kemudian di halaman berikutnya setelah Cirang Rakantu Desana, kita akan tambahkan Cirang Rakantu Ketia Damadasa. We are going to chant Etawata on the first five. This Imam Rakantu Rataka. We are going to replace it with Imam Rakantu Australia and Imam Rakantu Indonesia. And on the next page, after the Cirang Rakantu Desana, we are going to add one more. This Cirang Rakantu Ketia Damadasa, our place. Handa mayang etawata takia dipatidanang karomase. Marilah kita melakukan pelimpahan jasa yang diawali dengan kata etawata. Etawata ja'ameki sambadang punya sampada sabe dewan modantu sabar sampai isi dia etawata ja'ameki sambadang punya sampada sabe dewan modantu sabar sampai di sini dia etawata ja'ambehi sambatang punya sampada sabe satanu modantu sabar sampai isi dia
Akasatha ca mata dewa naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva santu loka sampitam akasatha ca mata dewa naga Australia Akasatha ca mata dewa naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva tirang rakantu Indonesia Akang onyatina otu sukita ontunya tayo idang onyatina otu sukita ontunya tayo idang onyatina otu sukita ontunya tayo Dewa satu kalena sasa sampati hotuja Ito bawa tulo koca bawa tulo Akasata jamu mata dewa naga mahidika Cirang rakantu desanang Akasata cabung mata dewa naga mahidika Punyantang anumoditwa cirang rakantu ceria dhamma dasa Akasata cabung dewa naga mahidika
Semoga para dewa turut bersukacita atas timbunan kebajikan yang telah kami capai dan timbun sebanyak ini demi keberuntungan dan keberhasilan. Semoga para makhluk halus turut bersukacita atas timbunan kebajikan yang telah kami capai dan timbun sebanyak ini demi keberuntungan dan keberhasilan. Semoga semua makhluk hidup turut bersukacita atas timbunan kebajikan yang telah kami capai dan timbun sebanyak ini demi keberuntungan dan keberhasilan. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga, mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga memelihara ketentraman dunia. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga, mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga melindungi negeri Australia ini. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga, mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga melindungi negeri Indonesia ini. Semoga timbunan jasa ini melimpah pada sanak keluarga. Semoga sanak keluarga berbahagia. Semoga timbunan jasa ini melimpah pada sanak keluarga. Semoga sanak keluarga berbahagia. Semoga timbunan jasa ini melimpah pada sanak keluarga. Semoga sanak keluarga berbahagia. Semoga hujan turun menurut waktunya. Semoga tanaman tumbuh dengan subur. Semoga dunia menjadi makmur. Dan semoga pemerintah atau raja bertindak benar. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, Semoga selalu melindungi ajaran. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga selalu melindungi pembayaran damai. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga selalu melindungi Ketia Damadasa. Para dewa yang bersemayam di angkasa dan di bumi, juga para naga mereka yang perkasa, setelah turut bersukacita atas jasa ini, semoga selalu melindungi semuanya. Kita tutup dengan nama Karapata. Going to close our puja with the chanting nama Karapata on the book page 23. Arahang sama sambuddho bhagawa.
Arahang sama sambuddho bhagawa.
Budang Bhagawantang Abiwademi.
Budang Bhagawantang Abiwademi.
Tato Bhagavata Dhammo.
Swagato Bhagawata Dhammo.
Dhammang namasami.
Dhammang namasami.
Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho.
Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho.
Sanggang namami.
Sanggang namami.
Baktian selesai. Sampai sata bawantu sukitata. Semoga semua makhluk hidup berbahagia. Bagi yang berdana dipersilakan.
Oh iya, thank you. Iya.
Oh, udah lans balik lagi.
Iya, iya, iya.
Question answer ya, balik lagi.
Iya, iya, iya. Nggak mau